1989, Sega R&D1 released Cyber Police ESWAT in arcades across every major region. It was a side-scrolling run-and-gun that had you take control of a police officer fighting crime across Liberty City. Your first missions are on foot as a regular beat cop bringing in low-level thugs. It's nothing particularly exciting, that is, until you move up in rank and join the Enhanced Special Weapons and Tactics Unit. It's here that you'll receive your Ice Combat Armor, a cybernetic exoskeleton that gives you access to advanced weaponry and defensive capabilities. You aren't invulnerable, however. Take enough damage and your suit breaks away, leaving you exposed to damage that will end in your death. Cyber Police ESWAT was developed for the System 16 arcade board, so it has that great late 80s 16-bit look of top-notch animation and color. It also supported 2-player simultaneous co-op. This was a surefire candidate for a home port to the Sega Genesis, but alas, it never happened. Instead, we received a loose cutback conversion for the Sega Master System. Given the gulf in power, the 8-bit console never had any chance of really doing this one well. There's a huge cutback in visuals, and the 2-player mode is missing entirely. Not all was lost for the series when it came to the Genesis, however. Sega decided that it was going to completely redo the game as a home exclusive. We got that in November of 1990, now called ESWAT City Under Siege. Our story begins with Liberty City being plagued by crime and gang violence. As a new recruit to the police department, you must do your best to combat these criminals in the opening stages. It's here where you'll have no real protection and a lone pea shooter to take them down. Do well, and you'll get your very own ice combat suit. Along with more protection, you also get an assortment of weaponry that changes the game up incredibly. As you invade the enemy bases and strongholds, the evil organization called I begins to throw all its biggest and baddest machines at you. The gameplay here is more like a Revenge of Shinobi than a standard run and gun. Stages are designed with lots of verticality, so you will constantly be challenged with jumping, flying, and platforming obstacles. Yep, I said flying. Along with your shiny new suit, you also get a burner or jetpack that gives you the power of limited flight. It has its own meter that you must watch closely because it goes fast. Once you have your suit, your weapons vary substantially and really gives you a ton of options in how you face the enemies and bosses of each level. The standard shot you will always have. It's what you start with and is the weakest in your arsenal. You'll soon pick up more weapons as they drop from enemies, however. Up first is your super, which is just a rapid-fire multi-shot that does great sustained damage. Next up is your rocket launcher, which fires a missile that travels along the ground until it hits something solid. The plasma charge is a versatile weapon with 2 functions. Rapidly hitting attack gives you a fast but weak attack. Let that sucker charge up for a few seconds though, and you can unleash a massively powerful shot that does the best damage in the game. Finally, you have what is essentially your last resort weapon, the burner. This exhausts all your burner fuel in one attack that hits all enemies around you. If a boss is about to defeat you, it's a good way to go out in a blaze of glory. Be careful though, if you die you lose whatever weapon you were holding at the time, and will need to collect it again. Fortunately, you can change weapons at will and at any time, giving you many ways to approach each stage. Unlike the arcade, this is single player only and has limited continues.
Mission completed.
The visuals of ESWAT on the Genesis are a sharp deviation from the arcade. While some art assets are still in place, the sprites are much smaller and the stages are completely redesigned top to bottom. But you know, I actually preferred this. I love that Sega didn't give us a direct port, because this one stands on its own as a great adventure. The opening stage has the appeal of that big city glow across the skyline. The Bio Lab uses cool animation to make the black goo cover everything, giving the entire level a threat and personality all its own. The sewer has a great looking effect of dirty water scrolling by, and the trash you'd expect to see floating in it. Yeah, I'd call ESWAT here a nice looking game overall, but it isn't without its issues. Coming in on a 4 megabit ROM, there are some areas that just don't have much going on. A number of the indoor stages are very plain with virtually nothing happening in the background. Sometimes there is literally nothing in the background at all. There is also a major lack of layering in these backgrounds. You get some very simple parallax in a few areas, but mostly this is an uncharacteristically flat Sega-made adventure. Animations also tend to be very rudimentary, basically 2 or 3 frames for movement and attacking. This is offset with a great variety in the boss encounters, but there is nothing special about the standard enemies at all. That gives you a feeling that ESWAT could have been more than it is graphically, especially if you put it beside games released that same year like Shadow Dancer, Strider, and Castle of Illusion. It's a solid presentation, but it will win no awards considering the capabilities of the console.
Mission completed.
Unlike the visuals, I consider ESWAT on the Genesis to have one of the finest soundtracks and some of the best special effects on the platform. Every bit of speech, every sound no matter how small, and every musical track screams with quality. The guy that did the music for this, Takayuki Nakamura, also worked on Streets of Rage, Moonwalker, the GG Shinobi, Outrunners, Virtua Fighter 1 and 2, and many others. I have many examples of its quality, so let's have a listen and see what you think. I love the flow of ESWAT's gameplay. The opening 2 stages are essentially teaching you the core mechanics. They are very simple to traverse, and line the enemies up to be butchered with little resistance. Even the bosses of the first 2 areas move in such a way that you just need to take advantage of your positioning and follow their simple patterns. Then you are upgraded to the suit, giving you a choice of weapons, and the game really begins. On stage 3, you are taking down enemies on 3 Mile Island. Enemies that now fly, launch grenades, and are far more numerous. The boss also forces you to use your new jetpack a bit, so you get a feel for how it works. The lab attack is a fantastic change-up. The burner is taken away and you must avoid the black sludge that covers everything. The change in enemies is appreciated as well, an assortment of monstrosities that only appear in this level. The boss of this stage has that Neo Geo look, filling the screen with an imposing presence. The fifth mission is the I base, and it focuses heavily on using your burner to negotiate the area. Anything red damages you, while anything green recharges your burner. The main boss encounter here has your burner superpowered for unlimited use, and you can fly all around the room and kill its host. It's a great moment that the developers should have done a few more times. The sewer stage grounds you in a more shinobi-style area that has an upper and lower platform as you cut down enemies. Aside from the cool-looking foreground scrolling, there are transparent trigger beams that alert stationary drones to attack you. The boss is an aggressive robot that hides in the water. There are a few more levels, but you get the point. Everything here escalates and gives you more to see and do as the game world unfolds. By the time you get to the end, you have seen a variety of enemies and stages that were truly fun to fight through. There are also multiple difficulty settings that really change up how this one feels. On easy and normal, most of you will blast through this one in no time. If you really want a challenge though, you have to play it on hard. You cannot approach it the same way there. You need to be far more cautious and exact in your takedown of enemies. Honestly, this game has few weaknesses, but there are a few and they can be significant. The visuals are at times quite plain and lacking the same wow factor of other Genesis releases. The opening stages lack excitement and can be a put-off to those that only play it for 10 minutes or so. ESWAT is also a crazy short game that can be beaten very quickly. While the meat of the experience is in the latter half, those opening 3 or 4 stages can be crushed in mere minutes. I hate to say it, but if you want the best of this one, you have to play it nearly halfway in to see it all. Whether that is worth it to you or not, you'll have to decide for yourselves. For me, ESWAT is a fantastic game start to finish. It isn't perfect, but it's tried and true Sega goodness and a console exclusive you couldn't play anywhere else.
Mission completed.
ESWAT is a game that is near and dear to my heart. I won't retread the entire story again, but I got this one as an early Christmas gift in 1990, a time when full retail games were not something I often received. I played it to death for months, getting so good I could crush the hardest setting without taking hardly any damage at all. I would recommend it all day long, but I also have to be completely honest with myself and admit that there are things here that may be tough for some of you to deal with. Those opening stages are lacking excitement, amounting to little more than a multi-tier tutorial. Some of these visuals could have been better as well, especially when you look at the jaw-dropping set pieces in other games released that year. But give it a chance and I feel the late game more than makes up for it, and that soundtrack is a gold standard for FM audio. If you enjoyed the Revenge of Shinobi, Shadow Dancer, or games like them, I almost guarantee this will appeal to you. There are also many ways to play this one nowadays. While it was a console exclusive back then, it's been reissued numerous times since. Between the physical and digital compilations available now, it's easy to find and doesn't cost a fortune. For those that love regional differences, try out the Japanese ROM. It doesn't have continues, there are a few different voice samples, and it's more difficult in areas. ESWAT was released at a time when Genesis games were simpler, and its arcade roots cannot be denied, but that doesn't mean it wasn't tons of fun. It has a good rhythm and pace to its gameplay, and it won't crush your will to play it with an absurd difficulty. Give it a chance, play a few levels in, and let that great game design do the rest. I'm Sega Lord X. Thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you next time.